So Phil, we'll talk a little about you. Are you happy with the record industry these days?
Well, these days, I love music and I play music and I consider myself to be a part of music. Now, record companies is just a way of trying to trick you, sort of scam you into what the facts are, is that these are furniture companies, and they have nothing to do with music except that they have been sucking the money out of music.
See, you're confusing people. Furniture. They're not furniture companies.
Yes,
they're
they are
commodity companies.
No, they are
selling,
not. No. They are furniture companies.
Okay.
That's how they started. That's what their contracts are. That's what they intended to sell, even into the 1950s. He told me this is the Phil Alvin show, so I got to do my spiel. In 800 BC, Homer, the guy that did the Iliad and the Odyssey, made his money one way. He sang and you paid him when he was there. That's how things were in 800 BC. Homer also wrote it down so that he didn't have to sing it to the next kid like it had been sung to him, and so they called him the great poet. But he was just a singer, making a good living, playing and getting paid where he was. Now, in 1878, Edison invented a record player. It was on one side of a record, it was on a cylinder, and the thing went up and down. And he had furniture companies that wanted to distribute the record player. Furniture companies like the Victor Furniture Company.
Oh, is that right?
That's right. See, Bart, we don't know this stuff. We don't know the facts. See, you know what? We don't know facts about a lot of things in our country. We don't know a lot of facts. No, these are furniture companies. The Aeolian Vocalion Brunswick, the first blues record ever made, was made by the OK Furniture Company in New York City, the Paramount Furniture Company in Grafton, Wisconsin. These are furniture companies. And they sold furniture, and they were not interested in selling music or records. They were interested in selling record players. Therefore,
that sounds like Sony.
This is art. Enter history. I just told you the reason Sony owns the record companies because they make the furniture now. That's the fact. This is not a joke. I'm not nuts, folks.
Well, okay, it's not a joke, but
I know that's. I'm always
the other
open.
part
I'm
is,
always open to that. I may be nuts, but I ain't lying. All right.
That's good.
That's true.
Tell it like it is.
Tell it, brother.
Hallelujah.
And this is your music. Now the music. Okay, so record companies. Edison was a poor businessman. It was charging people very high prices for distribution. Victor Furniture Company didn't want to pay Edison 60% for distribution. I don't remember the exact number. It was very high to comparison. So everybody was trying to design their own patentable record process. Victor did it. Rather than encode things up and down on the cylinder, called Hill and Dale recording that Edison did, Victor said, well, we'll record things left and right. And they patented that process, and the Victor Furniture Company, ladies and gentlemen, Furniture Company, was very happy that it had this patentable process because they wanted to sell Victrolas, the Victor piece of furniture. And they said, anybody in the world can use our patentable process for free because we want people to make records. We're not in the music business. We sell furniture. We got trucks and we got warehouses for furniture.
But Phil, Warner Brothers Records doesn't sell furniture.
Well, wait a minute. We'll get to Warner Brothers Records.
We only got a half hour.
It'll go fast.
Where's in 1978 right now?
No. You see, but you have to get these two things that happen. Victor came into the furniture business. Victor in the furniture business encoded the left and right. If you find early Victors, you'll see that they only got one side on them because they weren't even smart enough to see that you could put two sides when you go left and right. Edison couldn't because he was going up and down, put it on a cylinder. Columbia, which was a group that I don't believe was a furniture company per se, but that was acting inside business relations and in research for these furniture companies, said, why don't you just put it on both sides? And they'd let anybody use it except for Victor. As Victor didn't let Edison use their process. Edison was, because of being such a bum that he was about the distribution, nobody ever let him in. In the 20s, he tried to come in with putting two sides with Hill and Dale, big, thick records, but it didn't work out. It was a lousy process. All right, so this is how the furniture companies entered the business. Now, furniture companies knew that these Victrolas were expensive and they weren't going to sell to poor people because poor people didn't have any money. So they made a bunch of lousy records recording all the trash kind of junk. Only thing that was worth anything in the days between 1902 and 1920 was some of the opera stuff with Caruso and things like that. They recorded just trash to try to sell these white people, these big rich people, so that they could listen to the trash that they listened to. All right. Now in 1920, an innovative furniture company from New York called the OK Furniture Company recorded Crazy Blues by Mamie Smith. And the OK Furniture Company found out that, my God, these poor people bought 75,000 copies of this record. All of a sudden, they were in the music business. Everybody's in the music business, and from 1920, they went out. They wouldn't record men until 1925, and started doing it. Now, what did they do? Who got paid? The furniture company sells a record. They didn't pay the musician, nor did they pay the publishing. They didn't pay the person who wrote the song. Publishing is the old interest. 500 years of rich people. It's called a royalty. Comes from the kings, filtered down to you through social democratization, so that the rich people at every level, when it's democratized now, go down and steal all the poor people's songs, put their names on them, so they get paid for it. Called a royalty. And so the publishing companies took the record companies to court, and the publishing companies lost in court. It said the furniture companies don't have to pay you guys anything. So the publishing companies do what you're supposed to do in the United States. They went to Congress and had laws passed. And that's when you got BMI and ASCAP. They said, you do not steal money from kings. You can steal money from Lee Allen and Phil Alvin and any other musician. You can steal their money, brother, but you do not steal king's money. You don't steal the king's money, and that's the way it goes in Congress. And so we had BMI and all that stuff. Now, to this day, there was a little scam run on the Musicians Union. 90% in the early 1960s, 90% of the money that was made from the Musicians Union, 90% of the guys didn't make records. They were just playing local gigs. 10% of the guys did make records. The record companies were ripping off these guys' money, taking their money. So they did a thing called the Phonographs Recording Manufacturers Fund, where they said they're going to give Lee Allen a little money for all records he's on. But what's going to happen is that artists who are royalty bearing, if you're going to act like a king on our record, we do not have to pay you your union scale for being in there. That's fine. Then they give you $100,000 and they make you pay all the $100,000 back from your part of the royalty. However, they didn't say, well, Phil Alvin, by foregoing his royalties, gave $25,000 of union things, so that they take $100,000, subtract 25, say I only got $75,000. I'm done. It's a scam. They're furniture companies. Sony makes the furniture now. Therefore, Sony needs to control the record business, which has nothing to do with music. It has only to do with furniture. Music lives in bars.